gentleness, born to be a queen. I'm the most powerful being in the universe, lifting those around me. You are always first.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us.
Again, my name is Frances Lee, go affectionately by Fran Lee, and here I have my Aunt Wanda.
Aunt Wanda, hey everybody, thank you for joining us.
So we have a very special Mother's Day episode today, and before we get started, I just want to make sure that I drop the number. So if anybody wants to call in and share their stories or their experiences, the number here is 862-621-9536. And first, I just want to wish Aunt Wanda a very happy Mother's Day to you.
Thank you, and same to you, Fran Lee.
Thank you. I know that we're a little bit, Mother's Day was over past this weekend, but we want to wish all of the moms, the stepmoms, the foster moms, the adoptive moms, the bonus moms, a very happy Mother's Day. All of the women who have the responsibility that falls under the category of mothering.
Yes.
We honor you. We salute you. And how was your Mother's Day?
You know what? I had a fantastic Mother's Day. It started out with being with all of my children. We went to brunch, and then my eldest granddaughter graduated from high school.
Yes.
So, it was really, it was a great day for me. And, I want to share that normally I do a Happy Mother's Day post. I'll do roses or something, just a general post. But this year I really kind of noticed a lot of women kind of coming on talking about how Mother's Day was not really a happy day for them.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. Most of it that I saw had to do with the relationships with their mom, not so much feeling sad that their mom may have passed away, but that their moms may still be living and their relationships are just so damaged, you know? So I was very intentional. Like I didn't do that this year, but it really hit me because I think it's been that way for a while. But I just kind of noticed that Mother's Day is not always happy Mother's Day for some women. So I think that's part of why we wanted to have this episode is just to address that we know that, to address that we understand that. But my Mother's Day was great. How was yours?
My Mother's Day was very nice. I actually got to spend a portion of it with you.
Yes, you did.
So that was nice. I'm not sure if any of our listeners or viewers saw episode, I want to say maybe episode 3, episode 2 or 3, but we actually had Aunt Wanda's granddaughter, Tony Renee, as one of our guests.
Yes.
And over this past weekend, she graduated from high school. So congratulations to the class of 2019.
Yes,
because that's really exciting.
It was awesome.
That whole I'm done, I'm grown, I'm leaving high school, so the world is now completely open to her. So we're really excited for her. But besides the graduation, my Mother's Day was very nice. It was very quiet, which is nice, how I like it.
Yes.
it was very good. But yeah, there's a lot of women out there who do not have such a positive outlook on this day that kind of Hallmark has created to be so much bigger than really what Mother's Day is supposed to be about. But not everyone looks forward to it, and it can trigger a lot of emotions, a range of emotions, everything from joy and happiness to anxiety and sadness and depression. And while so many of us are blessed to have loving and affectionate mothers, there's many different circumstances that can lead to this being a day of sadness for a lot of people, from the death of a mother to the loss of a child, or again, as you stated, just an unhealthy maternal relationship. Women feeling abandoned by their mothers, or mothers who are forced to give up their children.
Exactly.
And so there's a lot of things that we kind of, unless you're in those situations, you're not always so mindful of what other women are going through.
And not even be able to identify it, because I know that, the majority of mothers, and you have 2 daughters as well. Like I remember feeling this kind of love that was beyond description. You know, and each time that I have 3 children and I have 3 grandchildren, and that love, that desire to care and protect is it's something that's undescribable. So because I've had that experience, it's hard for me to even fathom, you know, especially a woman or a young girl not having a relationship with their mother, and how devastating that would be. I just know going through my relationship with my mom. Now, May is a little bittersweet for me because my youngest and my oldest were born in May, but my mom also passed away at the end of May. So it's,
rest peacefully, Mucka.
Yes, my Mucka, right? And everybody just loved her, you know, and so it's bittersweet for me. I go through this range of emotion, but having the relationship that I had with my mother, which sometimes was very, very rocky, all because of me, but we were never estranged.
Yeah.
So there was never that break where I did not speak to her. And even with my daughters, you know, and you were there, like there was a long period of time where it was not good.
Yeah.
But we were not estranged. So it's really the level of emotions that you go through with being a mother. It's like it's both a noun and a verb.
Yes,
right?
yes, it is.
Because a mother is who you are.
Yes,
but it's also what you do. You know,
absolutely.
you mother and smother. Like, you know, you just add an S to mother, and you got smother, and
Guilty. Very guilty.
You know, guilty. So
mothering and smothering.
Yeah, you know, so we would love to hear, you know, if there is anyone, you know, out there that had that kind of other mother type of relationship or experience, you know, please call in. We'd love to talk.
Oh, is that a call?
Is that a call? Okay.
Hello. Welcome to Gem Talk.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
We can hear you. Who's calling?
Oh, this is Essence.
Hi, Essence.
I do y'all remember that?
Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you. Happy Mother's Day to both of you.
Thank you.
I see y'all. Y'all real cute.
Did you call to share something with us? You just wanted to chat.
No, I mean, I'm a mother, so I was like, okay, this is something for me to talk about.
Absolutely.
Oh, look at us. We're in sync now.
Yes. This is good. This is a good conversation. I mean, you can talk about motherhood every day, all day,
right?
If they let us.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I have a house full of roses.
Oh, nice.
I think we should get roses more often, not just on Mother's Day.
I agree.
Give us our roses while we're here.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Okay, well, what direction are we going in? Let's see.
Whatever
Well,
direction.
listen, it's your platform right now, dear. So whatever you want to divulge, and if you just wanted to call and say hi, we're okay with that too.
Yep, whatever you want to talk about.
Well, I will say motherhood is never ending.
Right.
I don't know when it stops.
Mm-hmm.
I know I've called my Aunt Wanda.
Yes.
When does it stop?
Right. And I think I
I'm about
always
to go
tell
walk
you
in
it
the
doesn't.
rain.
Right.
I'm about to go walk in the rain and find him.
Right
now.
Right. And
So,
that's a good point. That's a really good point. It doesn't end.
No.
It does not end.
It doesn't end, but they grow up, right?
Yes.
So how do we manage that?
Yes. And
You're grown, but you need your mother.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think, and Fran, I really I like that question. How do you navigate it? Because one of the things that I always kind of get a little leery with is when other mothers judge other mothers. Like,
story of my parenting.
you know what
yeah,
I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, every child,
Absolutely.
every mother, every situation is different. And I've learned that we do the very best that we can.
Yeah.
Now, if you think that something that I'm doing might be causing harm, there's a way to say it.
Yeah.
But to judge me or say that my parenting is wrong just across the board because it doesn't look like what you think it should look like, and then at the same time not be willing to share your truth, then have several
Yeah.
seats.
We are the hardest on one another.
Absolutely.
We are the hardest on one another. Whether you choose to raise your child as, you know, a meat eater or a vegetarian
Exactly.
or breastfeed or formula, or I mean, even as early on as a C-section, a scheduled C-section versus a vaginal birth. I mean, it's always someone
Yep.
who's going to criticize
Yep.
what you choose to do in parenting and raising your children.
Yep.
And it's unfortunate that we're not softer on each other, because we all know that this is, I mean, it is like the hardest job in the world.
Right.
It is uphill battle every single day.
Yep.
Every single day.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the
Essence,
fact that we,
No, go ahead.
I'm sorry, no, go ahead.
So I was going to ask Essence, how was your Mother's Day?
Interesting. I was flying in from a trip, and I had to connect in Charlotte.
Mm.
I don't even like to connect, period.
Yeah.
And I was flying on the old airline that I used to work for, and I'm like, oh, I put in a lot of hours at this airport. I spent a lot of time here. Where are my shades? Because I do not want to see an old supervisor.
Right.
I don't even want to be here. Where is the flight?
Just go unnoticed.
So, yeah, it was a little emotional. I'm not, just to be honest with you. But my son picked me up, and we had a nice day. Nice day.
Nice.
Can't complain. Can't complain about Mother's Day. Not this Mother's Day, anyway.
Essence, do you want to share why it was emotional for you to have to do your layover in Charlotte?
Well, because Charlotte is a city that I don't think I did too well in, so I left. I really didn't care for the city, and my son went back, and he was shot there, so I don't like it.
And that's, that's the other piece, right? Mothers who have lost their children,
Yeah.
but really, and not to dismiss anything, but mothers who have lost their sons. It's a, I can't imagine, but I know that mothers and sons have different relationships. Just from having a daughter, having daughters and sons, that relationship is very different. And so to lose a son, especially abruptly, is really, it's just devastating, and in essence, I know that this has been a process for you. Is there anything that you would or could like to share to another mother who might be listening that has gone through what you've gone through and kind of getting through certain phases of that? You don't have to.
Can I help them? No, I can't right now. I can't right now.
So if nothing else, I know that the takeaway is that if there is someone listening who has experienced something similar, that you're not alone. I mean, if nothing else, that we're not alone in this. You're not the only mother who has experienced this type of heartbreak, this unspeakable heartbreak that Essence has also experienced. And just to know that there is a community of women who know what you're going through, and even if it means to seek out within, your area, that community of women, just know that they are out there, other women and other mothers who have had similar experiences, because no one can understand what that feels like unless you have walked in those shoes.
Absolutely.
So we cannot relate. We can certainly empathize, but we cannot relate. And so there's no words that we can say that is going to even remotely come close to being like, oh, okay, she gets it, because we simply don't. And we don't. Yeah.
And I think that
Well, I will.
Mhm, go ahead.
No, what I will say is, let your journey be your journey,
Mm-hmm.
and no one can tell you which route you need to take,
Right.
and they're going to do that.
Yep.
Unfortunately.
Yep. Yep.
They're going to try to tell you what to do, and they have no clue on where you are, but they're going to tell you anyway.
Exactly.
And then that's just going to push you away. So just do what's comfortable for you.
Yep.
Whatever you have to do to get through the day. If you have to walk away, just walk away and keep walking away.
Right. Right.
And they may follow you. Keep walking away because they don't know.
Right.
They don't know.
Right. Right. They may follow you.
Maybe they'll get the hint when you're like all the way down the street. So
right. Right.
Just do what you have to do to keep it moving. But I would not throw you guys off today with this. I just wanted to.
It's fine, Essie.
I was going to jump in about the judgment because I'm a judger when it comes to certain things.
Right. Right.
No,
way to be honest.
Right. Me too.
I'm going to be honest because I'm a little harder because if it comes down to going to work or going out, I have no tolerance for that. So I won't be in your company if those are the choices that you choose for your family. That's just me. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Certain things I won't. You know what I mean? There's an order to this thing now.
Right.
So, and that's just an example. You know what I mean?
To that point, I'm sorry, but to that point, that's to me, that's not necessarily judging as much as it's making a decision that, okay, I don't agree with that behavior, and so I'm not going to participate in it, or I'm not going to condone it. Mm-hmm. And
right.
To me, that's a healthy way to kind of handle it.
Yeah,
because
and set some boundaries.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
To set some boundaries with your mothering and how you raise your children. To say, okay, that's fine if you're doing that. It's all good. Mm-hmm. I don't choose to allow myself or my children to participate in that. So we'll catch you at the next event.
Yeah,
and to me, that's definitely a more healthy way than to just, what's wrong with you? You're going to do that to your kid? Why would you,
Yeah.
to just make decisions and
it's all about the delivery.
Yes. And keep those healthy boundaries. So, I think that those are all good, definitely good points. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, ladies. Well, thanks for taking my call.
Thanks for calling.
Thank you for calling.
All
Talk
right.
to you soon.
Love you guys.
Love you
too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yes, and again, this is the reason why we chose to have this show today. This is the exact reason, because Mother's Day is just one day of the year, but there are so many of these holidays or events in life where the mass, the overall is looking forward to it.
Exactly.
And we tend to forget about the individuals where this is not such a grand old time for them, for one reason or another. And Mother's Day is definitely, in honor of mental awareness month, and as well as foster care awareness month.
Yes.
It's something that we need to be cognitive of. It's just that it's not happy for everybody.
Right.
There are a lot of mothers that it affects.
Yep. Everybody has their journey. So we do, we want to talk a little bit about surrogacy as well. But before we do that, so Fran, I want to ask you, so
put me on the spot.
Yes, don't put you on the spot, because you're always over there with your computer just going, and I'm like, what is she looking at?
I try to prepare. I prepare my notes. I like to be prepared and ready. Just y'all know, just be ready.
And you know
always,
me, I'm just
always
like,
be ready.
I got a phone and I'm a flow with whatever. So, but I want to ask you up to now, right? Mm-hmm. So tell me, what's the greatest about, the greatest being a mom, and then kind of like that not, I don't want to say low or bad, but you know what I mean? Like the challenge.
Motherhood has been a ride for me for sure. Mm-hmm. So I had my first daughter at 20. I was 25 when she was born. So I was 24. And her dad and I, although we met in college, I don't know that we definitely saw each other for the long haul.
Gotcha.
It was like we were together, but is this really what it's about to be? And so when we had her, it kind of forced us into this dynamic where it was like, okay, I know he's a good man,
right,
and I know he's going to be a great father.
Right.
But is this it? Like, are we done?
Right.
Because I was living.
Right.
I was out here, I wasn't out in these streets, but I was in these streets.
Right.
I was living my best life. I had just graduated from college.
Right.
I was recently interning for Def Jam, and so I was gallivanting around the city as young girls do, dating often and eating out frequently. And so when my life took this drastic turn,
right,
which I was okay with, I just wasn't, I was like, this just seems so finite. Like, okay,
right,
is this where my life is going to be from
right,
here on out? And my first was a struggle. And I don't mean that as far as the labor or the delivery or the pregnancy or anything like that. I mean, her personality was a struggle because she was so, she was just so all about me.
Yes.
And I wasn't sure she wouldn't go to anybody. She wouldn't go to anybody.
Nobody.
She just started, being comfortable going around my own mother, and now she's 9. So it took her a long time.
Right.
If someone picked her up or if I left the room, she was the type of baby where I literally had to have the car seat on the floor in the bathroom while I showered.
Yes.
Because if I left the room, it was like police sirens were going off.
Yes.
That high pitched scream that takes you out.
Yes.
It was that.
Yeah.
And it was that for a long time. So having to get used to that, it was a lot. It was like, is this motherhood? Because this ain't no joke.
Right. Right.
This ain't what people were telling me about.
Right.
This is not the stories that I heard.
Right.
And my labor and delivery were fine. It was the aftermath. And I can't say that I had any type of postpartum or anything like that. I kind of just rose to the occasion because I had to.
Right.
But then once the second one came around, she is the complete opposite.
Total.
So that's when I got to realize, oh no, this isn't what motherhood is. It could be this or this.
There you go.
It could be this or it could be this.
Right.
So it was a struggle in the beginning.
Yeah.
And every day it gets slightly easier, but with each age is a new challenge.
Yep.
And just kind of tying it back into their father and I, it really gave us a reason. I don't know that had it not been for the oldest daughter, by the second daughter, we were like, all right, we in this.
Right. Right.
But with the first daughter, it's all of those little fights and disagreements that just come with being in a new relationship. And it wasn't a new relationship. It was a new part of our relationship.
Right. Absolutely.
And so it gave us a reason to say, okay, we're going to fight for this.
Right.
We're in this for the long haul. And then ultimately we ended up getting married. But that, I know there's a lot of people that don't have that.
Right.
Or there's a lot of people who think that is what having a child is going to do, and it doesn't necessarily work out in their favor.
Right.
They stay because of the kid, or they have a kid because of the man.
Exactly.
And it doesn't always, the pieces don't
Never
always
works
fit
out. That's right.
Quite like that.
That's
I
right.
knew early on he was my person. I just didn't know it was going to happen as quickly as it did.
Right. And take the journey that it did. Right.
Yes.
Awesome.
So the challenge it was adapting.
Yeah.
Was adapting to the fact that, and I still look back and I'm like, I am responsible for a whole 2 human beings. This is insane.
2 of them. Yeah.
This is insane. I see them eating. I'm like, those are like mine. No, I can't go out. No, I can't, stay out extra late. No, I can't just run out to the store. It's a whole to do.
It's a whole to do.
And so that was the challenge. But obviously, the blessing is the blessings. It's all of the wonderful things that comes with having a child.
Right.
But it's not always, and I can only speak for myself, it was never always for me what everyone told me it was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And
Not
so
once
you
upon
have
a time.
you have this fantasy of what it's going to be like being a mother, and it's so great. And some people had wonderful pregnancies, and I hated being pregnant. It was like, this is the pits. And so you get this false idea of what it's going to be. But then at the end of the day, you're responsible for these two people, and you're creating this legacy and this lineage, you know, and so big picture. The big picture is the blessing.
Yes, absolutely.
The day-to-day is the challenge.
Listen, exactly. And I'll tell you, as far as being pregnant, I'm the complete opposite. I absolutely loved being pregnant. I loved it. And I was like so big with both of my daughters.
How were you even comfortable?
I loved being pregnant. And listen, for those of you that know, they had those pregnant underwear, the pregnant.
The big old drawers.
Yes. I wore them long after. They were so comfortable. I got hooked on that, sleeping with the pillow in between your legs.
I still sleep with my pregnancy pillow.
Yes.
And my child is 4. I really
enjoyed being pregnant. You know, and like I said, I think for me,
did you enjoy the pregnancy or the attention?
Both. Because it was she's pregnant.
Attention.
Come on through.
Come on.
Oh, do you want to sit down? Can I get you anything?
The pedicure is an extra rubber too on the legs.
But I think that I was most caught off guard by that overwhelming, this different feeling of love. Like that I cannot really describe it other than using things like I would die for you. I would run in front of a truck for you, which I literally did. For Devin, when my son was 2 years old, like he literally ran out in the street, and to this day, I believe that I flew. I believe that there was an angel or something that came down and flew me over to him.
Yeah.
And that's, and that's the other thing for me too, about that there's certain memories that just stay there. And even when I think about them today, like even he was 2 years old, he's going to be 30 next year. Okay, that's a whole nother. I can't even believe I just said that out my mouth.
And we didn't grab the tissues.
I know. I'm doing good.
You are doing good.
I'm doing
Listen,
really
when
good.
Miss Essence called, I definitely thought a tear was going to fall.
I was over here swallowing. I did really good.
Biting the inside of her cheek.
Yes, I did really good. But I agree, the challenge was the everyday. The challenge was, getting to that point of realizing that they have their own personalities.
Yeah.
And that how do I nurture your personality when you don't really even know yet that you have a personality or, so, teaching them things and wondering what to teach. Are you teaching? And like when to say, how do I pick my battles? And, again, for a long time, there was other people involved in my children's life that raised them and that I know I'm swallowing and that I know gave them.
Yeah.
Lessons that what I had to do was try to hold up those lessons because I didn't teach them.
Yeah.
So for me, like that's the other part of motherhood that was a challenge, was those times that I wasn't there. And then now having to look back.
Yeah.
Right. And then we do the guilt thing. I got to hurry up and catch up, but it's, and I say too late, not in a bad way. I say too late because it's already happened. So now I can only deal with
the here and now. Yeah.
So, for those mothers who may have been out of their children's lives for whatever reason, and you're in your child's life now, give yourself a break. Don't be afraid to have those open and honest conversations and, allow them to speak what their truth is, even though it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt some days. You're not really going to want to hear it. And you're going to want to mother,
Yeah.
talk to me like that. How dare
Yeah.
let them have, let them speak their piece. So I agree. The challenge is just that everyday kind of navigating, and the blessing is, for me, Nicole, Michelle, and Devin. And then subsequently Tony, Renee, Miles, Isaiah, and Jordan Marie, which I call them my 3 squared. So, it's all good. So we're going to move away. We're going to get right. I did really good.
She did do good, y'all, because she was prepping.
Yes.
She had been prepping for the tears. She knew they were coming before we even got in here. So that was good.
And I'm proud of you.
Oh, why so?
That's another.
What I do?
Long story. You grew up.
I did. I did.
You grew up.
I had to.
And you snatched your life back. That's
did.
what you did. You snatched it.
Thank you for noticing.
It was about to, and you went,
I teetered.
You went, oh, no.
Absolutely.
That we ain't, I ain't going out like that.
Yeah.
And you snatched it back. So I am proud of you, and Nyla and Kari, they will learn a lot.
I hope so.
They will
my
learn
goal.
a lot. They will. They'll learn a lot. And that's the one thing I learned. And then we're going to surrogacy.
Okay.
That's the one thing too that I've learned is that I have seen in all 3 of my children, react, respond, motivate something that I know was a direct result
of you,
of me. And it's moments like that I go, oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. It's stuck.
They got it. It stuck. That conversation meant something. They heard me, but we don't always see it in the moment, because they're growing too, right? They gotta test the waters and do all of that. So when we get to see, some of the lessons that we did try to teach, even if it was just by example, not necessarily a conversation. Yeah. Because a lot of my teaching was by example, not so much conversation per se. Yeah. So, they will definitely, they're definitely learning some valuable lessons.
And I think that goes for my mother as well. A lot of the things that were instilled in me were through example, not necessarily us sitting down and having these grand conversations. Right. Because for many years within those teenage years, things between us weren't the best. Right. I know she's blocked out a lot of it, mommy. I know I blocked out some of it too, because they were just difficult times. Yeah, But when now looking back, I can understand the space she was in. With going through divorce and having 4 children, 3 rambunctious boys, and then, the little angel me. Right. So I can understand, I can empathize with the space she was in and how difficult of a pain in the behind I was. Right. And so I can look at it with a wide lens. Now we peas in a pod. Hey, mommy. Right. But for those pivotal, that 14, 15, 16, probably until about college age was difficult. They were just difficult years. And I think a lot of people, especially if any young listeners that we have here, they go through those periods with their mother. I know that mother-son relationship is very different, but that mother-daughter relationship is something else. Listen. And it goes through waves. And there's going to be times when it is, great and grand. And it's going to be times when you're like, put me up for adoption. Right. Like, let me go. let me go.
We can be pen pals.
Yes, right to me. Just right to me. Because we are not speaking the same language. Right. We are not communicating. Right. You don't understand. You don't understand me. You don't understand me. Throwing these little bratty tantrums. But and then for some reason it comes back around in a whole different way. In a whole different way.
Because now they've lived and learned, same thing with, with my daughters. They've lived and learned, so our conversations are differently.
Absolutely.
And my mom the same way, but my mother was not a talker. She wasn't really having she also wasn't very affectionate. But she loved, and you knew that my mother loved you. Yeah. But she wasn't really affectionate, but she would show you things. So she would show you, and you would know that she was showing you something. She was she wanted you to learn this, or she wanted you to know this, but it wasn't always about this big conversation. It was This is how you do this. Like, my daughters really learned to cook
From her.
not from
Not
me.
from you. Not at all. Not from you.
I mean, they could make like oatmeal. I taught them how to fry hot dogs. Don't, okay? So I'm saying, you cut the.
Don't let it get big on you. You got to put a slit. You do.
Split.
Put it in.
And put it. All right? And when you boil water, the water goes in the pot.
Yes, it
And
does.
then you turn. Don't play. I'm gonna come out with a recipe. But I'm coming out with a
They not
simple
gonna buy
cookbook.
it. They not gonna buy it.
I think they gonna
They
buy
like, I
it.
don't know. I listened to episode 6, and I don't think I want to
think I want
invest
that
in
book.
that. But yes, they picked up on that
Yes.
from her, and it's also so important why we understand. Love languages aren't specific to romantic relationships.
Love language. I like that. Right.
They're to any relationship,
Yes.
and so you had an understanding of
Yes.
what your mother's love language was.
Yes,
so
I
you
love that.
felt the love.
Yes.
Even though she wasn't a touch, feel,
Absolutely.
affectionate person, she showed it in a different way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there was no doubt. There
Yeah.
was no doubt. So speaking of love, let's talk a little bit about surrogacy. And there's a lot of talk about it. We hear more about it in the celebrity world because,
They have money.
They just, okay. And they're in the news. And so people talk about them, but surrogates, happen all the time and they happen for different reasons.
Yeah.
And, so we actually had a clip from, one of Gabrielle Union's, interviews that she did where she talked about, why they went to surrogacy, and some of the challenges, that they had. So I think we want to just play that clip, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit more about that.
All right, let's see. Heavy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very heavy, because there are a lot of women who struggle with getting pregnant, and then there's a lot of women who just struggle with miscarrying.
Right.
With miscarrying and not having you feel less than,
Yep.
because that's kind of what we're taught we're here to do is
Right.
reproduce, and that's
Right.
part of our jobs as women.
Right.
And so to not have the ability to do so,
Right.
I can't imagine what kind of mindset that kind of puts a woman in,
Absolutely.
especially approaching or surrounding a day like Mother's Day, which is to
Exactly.
celebrate the mother. And
Exactly.
for those women who want so desperately to become mothers,
Right.
and can't do it.
And can't do it.
Yeah.
And then when you think about, a miscarriage, when you think about a stillborn, when you think about, anything that once you've created the child or the life and then you lose it, it's a
Yeah.
loss.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes that's the other piece where we may not necessarily think about a miscarriage as a loss of a child, but it is.
Yeah.
Because when you're pregnant, your body goes through changes
Yeah.
that only you can feel. I mean, people see that outside, you know, and they may see your stomach rumble when the baby's kicking,
But there's
to
a
feel
whole
that,
nother set of preparation going on in there.
yes, there's a whole lot of other stuff going on that is very intimate between the woman and that embryo or that baby or that fetus. It's a very personal, intimate time. So if you miscarry, it's the same as losing a child. And again, I'm not minimizing those who mothers who have lost children, you know, that have grown up and things like that. But I think that we also have to just consider that fact and be mindful that women who go through miscarriages, and or like in Gabrielle Union's case, I highlighted her specifically because she specifically talked about a illness or a disease that a lot of women know. We know about endometriosis. I didn't know about the other one that affects the muscle. You know, but to just understand that surrogacy is not just for vanity, if you will.
Yeah.
And
I don't want my body to get big. I don't want the stretch marks. So I would prefer someone else carry this baby.
Right. And and again, not to really sound judgmental because it's more about the behavior, but I believe that there are some women that may make that decision for that. And you know what? Good for you. It's okay. But in this case, you know, it had something to do with, there was something physically wrong that she was not able to carry the child. But they did that, I think it was called gestation. So it's actually his sperm, her embryo, and it is their baby. The woman performed more as a vessel, which, I mean, I just think that the ability for women to not only give life, but to sustain it, you know, is amazing. I think that we're freaking amazing.
You're pretty dope. We are pretty dope.
I think we're pretty dope. You know, that our bodies have the ability to do that. And, you know, so anytime a woman has any struggle when it comes to carrying a child or anything that has to do with childbirth, just as women, we really just need to be a little bit more mindful and a little bit more empathetic when a woman is not able to do it the normal way or the traditional or the traditional way.
Yeah, and to just talk about stillbirths for a moment, because it happens so much more frequently than we really hear.
Right.
You know, it's about 1 in 100. So that's about 24,000 babies on an annually that are stillborn. So that means that the mother has to actually push the baby out.
Right.
And then loses the child in the process, either through labor and delivery or prior to labor and delivery. And the only way for the baby to kind of come out of her body is to deliver the baby. Especially for mothers who have that experience and have other children. I can't imagine, you know, just the heartache and the fact that they're able to still get up every day and mother their other children. I mean, it's a wonder that we're not all in psych wards. Just because the stress, again, just like you said, how wonderful and dope we are, and to those mothers who have lost children, that they pick themselves up every day. How wonderful and how dope they are, you know, because it does happen more frequently than we know. And then even stillbirths aside, you know, then we talk about SIDS or we talk about, you know, strangulation in bed, just because we're not aware or we sleep too heavy and we're in the bed with a newborn, because that also happens more frequently than anyone really talks about. You know?
And I think that there's definitely, I mean, there's just a different connection. And let me just say this, dads, we got you. Okay. June is coming. So we got you. But I want to say, you know, when things like that happen with our children as mothers, there is a very distinct connection between a mother and her child.
Yeah.
And it started in the womb with the whole sharing the placenta, all of that.
All of that.
All of that.
Yes.
So, yes, mothers, we react differently. We feel things differently. And that does not minimize anything that dads feel at all under any circumstances. But there is definitely this different connection, a more intricate connection, literally.
Yeah.
With, with a mother and her child. And, this is a topic, one of those topics that we could do part 3, 4, 5,
Absolutely.
6,
Absolutely.
But we wanted to just kind of touch on, and just highlight the ups and downs, of motherhood that, we're not perfect. No one's perfect. Every mom has, a different experience. And speaking of which, all 3 of my children call me differently. They don't call me my oldest, which she'll kill me, but my oldest, which I think warms my heart every single time, is mommy.
That's what I call my mom. Mommy.
My middle daughter, my Bella, she calls me mom, and my son calls me ma. And anytime I get a text from him that just says ma, like, you should see me. I'm like, oh. Before I say yes, it just, those
even
words,
at almost 30 years old.
Even at almost 30 years old. So, even that, the different relationships that moms have with their children. Because all 3 of my children, mommy, mom, ma.
Yep.
And they're very consistent with that. They don't, so it's just,
and because we are speaking about this, I don't want to say intense, but this intense connection with your child or our children. I do also want to kind of cuff that with the fact that there are women who don't feel that connection. They don't feel it.
Right.
And, I can't speak for any space outside of Gem Talk, but there's no judgment here for that.
Right.
But do understand that there are, I know last week we had our show, or 2 weeks ago we had our show on mental health. And again, that's not calling anyone crazy or anything of the sort. But if you feel something there, then something is there. And if you feel like I don't have this connection with my child and I feel like I should,
right.
Maybe you don't see anything wrong with it. Maybe things are good the way that they are. But if you feel like, you hear these stories or you're surrounded by other women and their children and you don't feel that, reach out, reach out to someone and make that known, be vocal about that.
Yep.
Because we are talking about our own that we're literally grew inside of our bodies, and there should be something there. There should be something there. And if you don't feel that, that's okay.
Yeah.
But reach out to someone and don't hold on to that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Because postpartum is real.
It is absolutely real.
And sometimes a lot of women, they will kind of dismiss that as, I never wanted to be a mother anyway. Like, they kind of dismiss it.
Yeah.
But that's absolutely right. Because part of postpartum is just not feeling that connection, not knowing what to do, what would come naturally to being a mother after you give birth does not come naturally.
Yeah.
And again, it's not about being crazy. It's just about, checking it out.
Yeah. Finding the tools.
Finding the tools. Because what about, those women who have children because they were raped?
Yeah.
That's real too, to make that decision to carry that child. And so now the child is here and you're like, whoa, wait a minute, especially if they come out actually looking like, the person that caused you harm. So there's just so many different aspects, so many different scenarios.
Or even the less extreme, just by a man you didn't necessarily want to have a baby with.
Exactly. Yep.
Or choosing to have a baby with a man who doesn't necessarily want to be with you.
Right.
There's so many intricacies when it comes to motherhood. And again, we're so hard on each other and one another when it comes to the way we parent and how we parent and why we parent in the first place and how old certain people are when they choose to become a parent, young or on the older side. We're just so difficult on one another that so many moms just they'd rather not speak out in fear of the judgment.
Exactly.
As opposed to just saying, this is what I'm going through.
Yep.
I cannot be the only person who's had these experiences.
Right.
It can't just be me. That would be insane.
Exactly.
You know, there
And
are
it's never
communities.
just you.
It's never just you.
It's never just you.
Absolutely.
There's always somebody out there that has experienced something similar. Although everyone's reactions and so forth are different, we've all experienced
Absolutely.
something as it relates to being a mother, becoming a mother, relationships with your mothers. Some women decide not to have children as a direct result of the relationship that they had with their mother and the things that they saw for fear of becoming like her or not living up to. So, again, to your point, I think that was awesome that you brought that up, because a lot of that, when you're talking about how certain things make you feel and as a result how certain things make you act, it's always good to be able to know that you can go and have somebody to talk to just to help you clear it out, just to help you sort it out, so that you are very clear on what your direction is going to be.
So many times it makes a difference just saying it out loud, even therapist or no therapist, just saying it out loud, even alone, but it sounds different vocally than it does in your head.
Absolutely.
So let's just keep that in mind. And just in talking about mothering, there are some non-traditional ways to become a mother. And again, it is Foster Care Awareness Month. So I do want to just put it out there to any people, any individuals, but mothers in particular, women in particular, who are looking to maybe become a foster mother. There are 443,000 children in foster care at any given time. And so if you are in a position to mother, if you're financially or emotionally in a position where that might be an option for you, we should certainly look into it, because there are a lot of children who are in our foster care system. And a lot of things come with that.
Yeah,
a lot of things come with that. I had the honor of hosting a workshop this past Friday. I just want to shout out Dangers of the Mind. If you are not aware of Dangers of the Mind, it is a social emotional learning curriculum that was done by a woman named Kristen Hopkins. And it is, actually, this is an upcoming event. I'm going to talk about this one. So this is an upcoming event that's coming up on June 1st, where I will be also participating. It is a social media awareness panel, and it's going to be in Newark, and it is free. So if you are interested and you want to get tickets to that, you can go to the page of Miss Tasha, and let me actually pull up her social media, because she does have tickets available at her Eventbrite. And again, it is in Newark, and it is free. And there will be a lot of panelists there just talking about social media awareness and how it affects our youth. Her name is Natasha Tucker, and you can catch her at The Real Tasha T. And you can get tickets for that. Again, it is free. It is on June 1st on Halsey Street in Newark, and it's going to be a really, really great, dope event for the young ones to just kind of sort out all of the things that happen with social media and how it affects, our everyday life. But just going back to this girls' conference that I was honored to host with the Urban Assembly program, as well as Kristen Hopkins and Dangers of the Mind, I was able to, one of the panelists, one of the women that were there, is very heavy in the foster care advocate, and she bounced around from quite a few foster homes while she was younger, and now she's an advocate for, and amazing woman. But go ahead and look up at Dangers of the Mind on Instagram, and you'll see all of the back footage and everything to that. Really, really great event for the girls.
And congratulations to you, Franley.
Thank you. It was so exciting. Again, a hot shot to Urban Assembly. They did such a good job with the conference of 2019. But yes, there's a lot of our kids who are in the foster care system. And when we talk about social and emotional learning, these are a lot of the skills that they kind of lack, being bounced around from home to home. And so, again, it is Awareness Month. So we do want to shout that out and make sure that if you're not in a position, that you may know someone who's in a position. And so pass on the information. There's a lot of kids in our foster care system. Yeah. But I am just so glad that we got a chance to talk about all of the things that nobody really wants to talk about when it comes to Mother's Day.
No. And,
you know?
No. And again, that's like with almost every topic that we do, there's just so much more that we could talk about.
Absolutely.
And at some point, we definitely circle back around to everything to make sure that we cover it. So I think this was a great, thank you so much again to our caller. This is Gem Talk, and we're at Jersey Fresh TV. Please go to the YouTube channel, click subscribe. Okay.
Don't forget that part.
Yes.
Subscribe.
Subscribe.
Yes.
Because we will be back in 2 weeks.
We'll be back in 2 weeks. What's that, the 29th?
Is it the 29th?
I believe it's the 29th. Should I pull out my calendar? Is it?
Yes.
It's the 29th. Thank you. And this is why we have a studio engineer to hook us up. He's in our ears. Like, yep, it's the 29th. Y'all got this. And you can follow our social media in order to find out specifics as far as what it is that we're going to be talking about on that day, as well as the next time and upcoming, and then also upcoming events. So Wanda has an upcoming event coming up.
Yes.
In Atlanta, Georgia.
Yes, I'll be in Atlanta talking on mental health awareness. I'm a panelist. It's called the Crazy Like a Fox Tour. There's information about it on my Instagram at Uniquely Wanda, but I'm very excited. It's actually a 4-city tour. Atlanta's the first stop, then they'll be in Philly, Baltimore, and Charlotte, North Carolina. So it's going to be a great tour. The women, the panelists they are just amazing. So please stay tuned. Stay tuned for more information on that.
Yes. There's such power in women. So again, just be mindful of the women that you're surrounded by, you're surrounded with.
Yes.
And, as we approach, the summer's coming up, there's going to be birthdays and everything else like that. And then the holiday season, I don't even want to think that far in advance, but the holiday season approaches.
Right.
And, it can be a really difficult time for people. And we don't often think about it. We think about women who've lost their mothers, but we don't always think about the other side of it. Women who either can't have babies or have lost a child, have lost a child through. And we know that, the highest number of women who lose their children during labor and delivery are Black women.
Yes.
And we oftentimes don't think about that. We think it's 2019. How are people still, unable to effectively go through a delivery process without that being the cause.
Right.
And yet, and still Black women are the leading cause, the leading group of women who have that experience.
Yes.
So we just want to be mindful of one another. Go easy on each other. Mothering is hard.
It's not easy.
It's not easy. So if you see a mother, pat her on the back. If you see a mother who needs a hug, give it to her.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah. And we just really, really appreciate anyone who has tuned in today.
Thank
Again,
you.
This is Gem Talk, the podcast, episode 6. It's official.
6, yes.
It is official. So we will be back in 2 weeks, the 29th. And again, don't forget Jersey Fresh TV on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe.
See you in 2 weeks.
Thank you guys for joining.
I'm a perfect blend the world has ever seen. Strength, gentleness,